Hello there. Time for part two of comic book reviews for October 28th, 2015. Last video we covered books that aren't Batman related at all that I picked up, and in this part we're covering all of the Batman related books I picked up this week, starting with Robin, Son of Batman, issue number 5. Now, I was complaining last month about this book, how it seemed to be really formulaic, and how it was just starting to get, kind of boring. And this issue thankfully rectifies that. We start, and it starts off, and like the first page, I was like, oh, this again, as we see Damian during his year of blood being a big jerk and doing all sorts of jerky stuff. But then, as he's going to collect the skull to take back, first we see what happened to all the Damian clones from Batman Incorporated, and we see that Damian has put them on Ra's al Ghul Island, or just Al Ghul Island, and is raising them in peace and everything. But then, as he's going back to the temple to retrieve the item, he finds that it is missing, that someone has taken it, and that there's only one other person that knows about Al Ghul Island and the Year of Blood and all that, and that is, of course, Damian's mother, Talia, who has come to warn Damian that he shouldn't be doing all of the returning the magic items back to where they're coming from, because they were stolen in the first place in order to prevent an even bigger evil from escaping. But unfortunately, enough things have been returned to weaken the seal, and this dude, this devil-looking guy over here, Laun Durga, has been reawakened, and has like a sworn revenge on the Al Ghuls for stealing him in the first place, and just generally wants to destroy all life on Earth. Bad guy stuff. So Damian is kind of, shit the bed on this one. Al Ghul Island is sunk to the bottom of the sea, and now Damian, Talia, the new nobody, Goliath, and basically anybody else to survive the sinking of the island has to fight back against this demon guy. He looks like a demon guy. I'm just gonna call him a demon guy. So that's the general gist of this book. Just like the shakeup we need, I feel, to keep the Robin book really interesting, because again, I am liking it. So I'm glad that we're finally moving on to something kind of completely different. And there's some really touching moments in this book too, involving like who Damian is and how he's grown as a character. I already pointed out how he's kind of been raising his clones and keeping them safe, and the clones regard him as family and everything, and that's pretty sweet. And we see a bit of a path to that by the end of this issue too. That kind of hits in the feels a bit. So yeah, and I have liked this book. My only complaint was that it was getting formulaic, and this completely shakes everything up, which I think it needed, so good on that. Next book this week is Batgirl number 45, and it's the wedding issue. Barbara is getting all ready for Alyssa's wedding. Everything's I do like the art in the beginning. Everything's kind of pink and floral and pastel and all that. And we see Alyssa in her dress, and everything's all pretty and everything. And Barbara goes to check on Luke Cage, who's her date for the wedding, when suddenly who would appear but Dick Grayson, back from the dead from like the third time I think in Batgirl. He was back in other, like, Grayson, and then I think in the Batgirl annual, and so, I mean, this shouldn't be that big a surprise. I mean, it's still a surprise for Luke, of course. Luke doesn't know, but Batgirl, Barbara is more annoyed than anything else, it seems. And they go on a quick, as they do, they go on a quick rooftop chase through Gotham City after Dick steals the wedding ring from Barbara, and Barbara has to get it back. And Dick he's a dick in this book. He kind of is trying to win Barbara back, and Barbara tells him, no, it's not going to work this time, that you've been a huge jerk, and I've moved on, and, you're just going to have to accept that. And Dick accepts that, because, he has his moments, but overall he is a nice guy, and he has other things to do anyway, spy stuff. Then the end of the book is the wedding, and it's a sweet wedding. People kiss, Black Canary sings, and, for the reception and all that. So, pretty light book, pretty light issue overall. I guess just transitioning from the last arc into the new arc, and giving Dick Grayson a bit of a, some spotlight, because, he's Dick Grayson, and Dick Grayson's pretty cool. So, yeah, not much to say about this issue. I'd say it's pretty skippable, actually, even if you've been reading Batgirl, even if you've been liking it. There's just not much here, not much development of anything, really, except we see, I guess, the Barbara and Luke Cage relationship develop a teeny little bit. But yeah, there's just not much in this book, pretty light, totally skippable. But if you don't skip it, it's not bad. Next up is Grayson, number 13. And first of all, this is a sexy cover. I mean, it's not, tits out, ass out sort of sexy, but very James Bond, I think it's The Spy Who Loved Me, is I think the movie I'm thinking of, where you have the bikini girl and looking through her legs at James Bond. But yeah, it's a nice cover. I really like it. We start out with probably a more overtly sexy image of Dick Grayson stripped completely down and getting probed. Just Spiral making sure that their asset hasn't been harmed at all. No trackers or anything on him after he went rogue for a bit there. But then he's off stopping pirates. We have a few pages of Dick Grayson stopping pirates, which is fun, just, seeing him in a fight and all that, watching him move. Or, it's still images, but you get the drift. Just some more Dick Grayson fighting people. And then we catch up with, I guess, the main arc. Dick Grayson gets back in contact with the Batcave with Tim Drake in particular, as they try to find out more about Agent Zero. So we get some more details on who Agent Zero is and what she's been up to. Turns out she's been watching Batman from basically year zero, tracking Batman and, of course, Robin, because he's been a big part of that. We still don't know why. We still don't know to what ends. We have a name, but there's not much to go off of. Same last name as the Spiral Doctor. Same last name as this character who, this character over there, Elizabeth Nets. So maybe Agent Zero is her daughter or something, where we don't know. Maybe it's a younger her. Who knows? Not me, not yet. And then, yeah. Then it's Dick Grayson goes off and kind of tries to find Agent Zero on his own by pulling a few strings with some other characters. So yeah, that's Grayson. Not an amazing issue. It's not like some previous issues of Grayson that really stood out and maybe go wow at what they're doing. More exposition heavy, I guess, than a lot of other issues of Grayson. But hey, I mean, exposition is important, and sometimes you just got to deliver it straight out with two characters talking to each other over radio. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say skippable because there's a lot of exposition here, but not as great as some previous issues of Grayson. A bit of a low, but still, overall one of my favorite books, and it'll probably, judging from this book's history, will probably get better very quickly, and I really can't wait to see how and what happens. moving on to Batman Darkseid War, or the Darkseid War Batman Issue 1, which is a spin-off of the main Justice League book, where they're going through the Darkseid War arc right now, where we see what Batman is up to now that he has become the God of Knowledge. And not much has changed. Batman is still patrolling Gotham City, even though now he's doing it from a flying chair. And it's still his mission. Like, he's still, even with all of this power, he's still 100% dedicated to cleaning up Gotham City. And he's been going about that in, like, a very God of Knowledge-esque way, in that he is kind of minority reporting criminals. He is arresting people before they commit crimes. And, besides being, you know, not, like, illegal, because there's no evidence, like, there's nothing to charge them on, because nothing has happened. It's also pissing off Jim Gordon, who, like, he can't hold these criminals. Like, there's just nothing he can do. And he thinks that Batman has just become more of a jerk since he became a god. Which, reading this book, he totally has. We see exactly how Batman has been operating and bringing in these criminals, or not so much bringing them in anymore as just boom-tubing them to the middle of the Arctic, where they can hopefully, you know, think about what they almost did. Same thing happens when Batman brings someone who is planning to murder their ex-wife to Themyscira to learn a lesson about women, and, you know, just leaves him in Themyscira after he tried to kill his wife. Probably not the best place for him to be right now. And then, because Batman is still Bruce Wayne, even with all the powers of a god, he tries and fails to stop his parents' murder. The bullet just goes right through him. But still kind of single-minded about this whole revenge thing that he's got going on. Batman goes and confronts Joe Chill directly in his jail cell, and just kind of scares the living daylights out of Joe Chill, which he deserves. I mean, Joe Chill in this book, he's not reformed or anything. He's completely unrepentant, and it's kind of, I don't know, it's a big gray area, because Batman is being a huge jerk. Like, Bruce Wayne is using this unlimited power to just torture this one guy, but at the same, you know, at the same time, this guy totally deserves it. He's completely unrepentant for what he did, and I mean, in a way, it feels like, yeah, he deserves to be picked on by Batman. He deserves to suffer, you know, for what he's done. But we also see Batman just kind of lose it a little bit, go a bit over the line, with his usual methods. Because I mean, Batman, yeah, he's a scary guy, and if you're a criminal, you don't want to run into him. But he's also merciful in a way. Like, he doesn't kill. He's been shown to, like, try and get people new jobs after they've been reformed and all that. He surely has never stranded anyone in the Arctic Circle before for about to commit a crime. Like, not for even committing a crime yet, just for planning to. Like, this is a Batman who has lost his humanity in a sense. He has become a god, and he's lost, you know, that humanity that made Batman Batman instead of just, like, dark Superman. And we see it's also taking a toll on him. That the chair is making him bleed from his ears and his nose and his mouth and all that. That it's taking a physical as well as a mental toll on Batman. But, you know, he's so mission oriented. He sees it's still his mission to clean up Gotham. Now that he has his power, he's gonna get the job done in ways that he was never able to before. I mean, it's definitely an interesting look on Batman. It make like a kind of a, it's not quite Elseworldsy, but, you know, it's that sort of thing. Like, what if Batman could stop crimes before they happened, and, you know, what if he had that sort of unlimited power? And it's fun to see, because he's still essentially Batman. He's still the figure that criminals fear, you know, that wants to just clean up Gotham. And it's kind of sad that even with all this power, he can't. Gotham is still full of crime. It's still full of people who are unrepentant assholes, and there's no fixing that. There's no fixing that. The poison that just is Gotham City in a way. So yeah, it's a fun little book. This one, and I really can't wait to see how they play with the other Justice League characters. I want to see what they do with the Flash and with Superman. Now that I've seen what they've done with Batman, and I liked it quite a bit. And the last book this week is, of course, Batman and Robin Eternal, issue number 4. We begin with Bruce Wayne ambushed at a fancy little shindig sort of thing, and of course he is saved by Dick Grayson, who swoops in, locks Bruce Wayne in a closet, and says, "Don't worry, I'll handle all these Axie guys." Dick Grayson is joined by the We Are Robin team, who helps out with this axe fight sort of thing, and then they are once again helped by, let me find the page, by Batgirl, who also jumps in to this fight to rescue Bruce Wayne from all these assassins. After the fight, there's a bit where they have a chat about Tim Drake losing comms, that there was a data breach, that Tim Drake lost communications with Dick Grayson at this very kind of pivotal time, jumping right into an axe murder session. And then we also see catch up with Bluebird, who's been following Cassandra Cain throughout the Batcave, and even though it's her kind of job to make sure Cassandra doesn't wander too far, she decides instead to follow Cassandra into wherever Cassandra's going, essentially, to abandon her mission. Then we catch up with a bunch of the Robins in the Batcave, Red Robin, Jason Todd, and spoiler, as they try and find out what happened to Cass and Bluebird. Meanwhile, Dick Grayson is hot on the trail of who Mother is, which leads him to a familiar house. Not familiar to him, but familiar to the Batman family writ large. Conspiracy theories and all that. This is kind of a confusing, a little bit everywhere issue. We start with a pretty big fight scene with, Dick Grayson, with the We Are Robin team and Batgirl. That ends pretty quickly. Then we get a little tiny look at, at Bluebird and Cass Cain and see them go their own way. And then we get a kind of confusing bit at the end where you have all the Robins talking on radio, essentially, to each other. Everyone talking over each other, and it's kind of hard to keep track of who's talking to who and what's going on. That kind of cleans itself up by the end, but still leaves, a big enough mystery for the rest of the book. There's definitely there's big questions here. There's the big conspiracy thing. There's who is Mother. We find out that the names on the list that Cassie gave Dick aren't targets. They're people who are under Mother's control, or Mother sleeper agents. And of course, all of the Robins were on that list, so we want to kind of see how that plays out. I guess a single issue, again, it's kind of all over the place, but because this is a weekly story, because I know we'll find out a little bit more next week, hopefully, at least, I can't say it's doing a bad job at what it's supposed to be doing. So that is issue 4 of Batman and Robin Eternal, and that is it for this week's comic book reviews. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, please give it a like. If you want more of these, please subscribe. Any comments, questions, anything whatsoever, feel free to leave them below. And yes, that's it for this week. I hope you join me for next week for some more comic book reviews. But thank you for watching this one.